There is no question that Paris is a very popular destination, but many tourists end up being frustrated by the sheer volume of people all over the place. Just like other major cities like Barcelona or Venice, over-tourism is taking a toll on France. During certain times of the year, it's not uncommon to find traffic jams with people on pedestrian streets or shoulder-to-shoulder mobs inside some attractions. But that doesn't mean that you cannot have an amazing time right here in France. So in this video, we're going to share with you 10 ways that over-tourism is almost ruining Paris, and we're going to give you some alternative gems to visit instead. Allez, on y va. The first place in France that is dealing with a major problem with over-tourism is the Mont Saint-Michel. And I know that this is a must visit for many people, but the issue is that it was never intended to have so many visitors every day. We recently visited the Mont Saint-Michel during the off-season and we loved it. But even during the off-season, there were already a lot of tourists getting in the Abbey for the visit. A local shop owner told us that in season, it gets so bad in the main street that there is a wall of people that create a traffic jam. And it's hard for people to go forward or backwards. They're just stuck in the mob. Now, I don't know about you, but that's not my idea of fun. The Mont Saint-Michel is going to be overcrowded from the month of May to September and will require a lot of patience. As an alternate destination in France, I would look into Dijon, Beaune, and the Burgundy region overall. It's just 2 hours away from Paris, and while it's busier during the summer month, it's not nearly as overpacked as the Mont Saint-Michel. And if the Mont Saint-Michel is on your bucket list of must-see places, I would consider going in April or in October, but try to avoid the summer month.
Another place that gets way too much attention and crowds is Etre. And that's where you'll find the stunning cliffs and rock formations made famous by the Google screensaver and the Arsène Lupin series. And I understand why people want to go. I loved it when we went, but it just wasn't built for that kind of traffic. Whether you're in a car or a bus, there's a huge bottleneck getting into the town and again on your way out. And there isn't much to do other than visit the beaches and the garden. In fact, this little seaside village only has 1,300 residents, but over 1.5 million visitors every year. So you can imagine the disruption to their lives. And not to mention the impact on the sewer system. People are already talking. If you must visit Étretat, definitely go off season. And if you want to enjoy another charming port city, consider Rouen. It's a quick train ride, or about 2 hours from Paris by car, and it's a beautiful city with a rich and intriguing history.
The next overcrowded place in France is the Palace of Versailles. I know that for many visitors, visiting Versailles is high on the list, but you'll have to be ready to share the space with thousands of other visitors. Even with a timestamp tickets, you'll have to wait in line for a long time to get in because you and 1,000 other people have the same time on their ticket. Now, once you get inside, it does not get any better. Versailles was never intended for that many visitors in one day. The hallways connecting all the rooms are so packed that you have to go with the slow-moving crowd in front of you. Someone recently asked me, what is the best time to visit Versailles? And the honest truth is February. During peak season, from May to September, Versailles is packed on a good day. In the last 3 years, we went there a few times and regretted it each time because of the overwhelming crowd. If you want to visit a beautiful castle, I'd recommend visiting Fontainebleau, Vaux-le-Vicomte, or Chantilly, which are absolutely beautiful with a fraction of the Versailles crowds. The last time we were in the Fontainebleau castle, we almost had the entire castles to ourselves. And we loved it.
The next place suffering from over-tourism is Montmartre. And honestly, during the peak season from May to September, I'm barely willing to go even when visiting friends ask. The steps in front of the Sacré-Cœur Church are packed, and so is the famous Place du Terre with its sketch artists and painters. It's gotten so crowded that the city is working to restrict group tours to a maximum of 10 people so it's not so congested. And with crowds like that, it's a pickpocket and scammer's paradise. You never know who is bumping into you or trying to tie a bracelet on your arm. Personally, I get claustrophobic here in season. It's just not fun for me. If you like the thrill of the hustle and bustle and electric crowds, visit at your own discretion. But if you want to relax and enjoy it, come really early in the morning or book your flights before April or after October. And while we're on the topic of Montmartre, please don't put a lock on the fences. Even if everybody else does it, and even if there are hustles selling the padlocks, it's literally considered vandalism and it's causing structural damage. If you do buy a lock and post it, you should know that they get removed and thrown away on a regular basis, probably even before you get home from your vacation. So find another symbolic way to profess your undying love that doesn't cause damage.
The next place that is suffering from over-tourism in Paris is the Eiffel Tower and the surrounding areas. Now, to say that the area around the Eiffel Tower is a cluster would be an understatement. Not only is it crawling with scammers and pickpockets, but the grounds around the area looks awful and dirty because of the sheer volume of people. I know that if you're coming to Paris, you'll want to see the Eiffel Tower and possibly go up the tower to see the view. You just need to know that from June to September, you need to expect to wait a long time to get up there. And if it's the view that you want, I can honestly say that the view from the top of the Pompidou Center or the Arc de Triomphe are actually better. And the one thing you cannot see from the top of the Eiffel Tower is the Eiffel Tower itself.
French people often say that Paris is not France, and that's because there's so much more to see and do in this country. And we put together on our website some links to tours and information videos about some of our favorite places and bucket list stops all around the country. So there's a link in the description below. Check it out and see if there's anything in there where you want to go. The next place affected by over-tourism is the Louvre. There's a reason they recently changed the rules to limit the number of people allowed to enter the museum each day to 30,000. And it's still crowded, especially by the Mona Lisa. During peak summer season, it's tough to even stretch your neck to get a good shot past all of the selfie sticks. Thankfully, or not, there's a rope and stanchion winding queue that you can wait in to get an up-close view before the guides usher you off for the next person to have their 2 seconds. And by the way, it's not much better around Venus de Milo. If your heart is set on seeing these pieces, prep yourself, or definitely go off season. If what you want is fabulous art without the crowds, visit one of the other many fabulous museums around Paris, or better yet, take a quick train ride to the Chateau Chantilly, which has the second largest collection of antique paintings outside of the Louvre, all set in a fairy tale castle where Antoine and I took our wedding photos.
Next, it's a place that you would have to pay me a lot of money to go there in July and August, and that's the French Riviera. Now, from June to September, it's just a zoo. Not only is it a popular destination with tourists from other countries, but it's also a very popular destination with French people. And since everybody takes their vacation in July and August in France, it's just an overcrowded mess. From the Bay of Calanque near Marseille to the lavender fields in Provence, it just has way too many people. They're finally imposing quotas in some areas to limit the number of visitors per day. That's how bad it's getting. I totally get the appeal of the French Riviera, but for me, it's an April or an October thing, but never during high season. Instead, consider visiting the Dordogne area, which is just to the east of Bordeaux. The food there is amazing and the scenery is just breathtaking.
Next, we can't talk about over-tourism without talking about Instagram and TikTok. All of the restaurants like Pink Mama, Angelina's, Laos de Falafel, or The Favorite. If it's just part of your perfect Paris picture, then go for it. But know that you will likely spend a lot of precious time waiting in super long lines and get squeezed into little tables that are built for teddy bears and Barbie dolls, but not real human-sized people. And there are excellent, top-quality places nearby that may be much better, but they don't get insta-famous and start charging extra for their newfound ego. Like King Falafel is a couple doors down from Laos de Falafel. We think it's better, and most Parisians agree.
Booking an Airbnb in Paris is an option for many people, but before you do, you need to understand a few things about getting an Airbnb in Paris or any place in France. First, we have a shortage of affordable housing in France, which means that any home that is used for vacation rentals like Airbnb is taking away a unit that could be used by a local. Second, because of that, the French government has imposed a 120 days maximum for people to rent their units. So that means that if a neighbor keeps a tab on the number of days the unit was rented, you could see your booking canceled by law, because the owner of the unit has reached the limit. Now, that's another impact of over-tourism, and it happens not only in Paris, but all over France. Now, I don't know what the future holds for Airbnb in Paris, but I wouldn't be surprised if they adopted the same rules as in New York City to curb the housing crisis. We don't have anything against Airbnb. We've used it many times ourselves, but I would probably opt for a hotel in Paris.
And lastly, over-tourism has caused this new fad where people have to take the same photo in the same spot with the same pose that they've seen all over Instagram and TikTok. Hordes of people flock to the same spot on the same street, and sometimes even in the middle of the street, just to get the exact same photo with the same angle. Sometimes it feels like watching a series of automatons blindly doing the same thing, and I'm not sure if they even know why they're doing it, or if they even look at the photos after they get home. It seems like they're living vicariously through someone else's cool thing. The truth is, there are amazing things all around Paris, and people just walk right by them because they're so busy looking for something else that somebody else told them was cool. Look up and you'll find hidden statues in the facades of buildings, archways and recessed courtyards, little parks and squares, or even a view down a street. I have visited Paris over 20 times before we moved here, and in the last 3.5 years, we thought we saw a lot, but I am still discovering little gems all over the city that I never knew existed.
In this video, you learned about the problems with over-tourism in France. Next, I would watch this video on why tourists keep getting fined in a Paris metro.